Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre of Majestic Wire Artworks. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this hammered zigzag coin freshwater pearl bracelet. Isn't it beautiful? This is a video made for Beebeecraft with their supplies, and I will have all the supplies in the description below, so have a look, and the links will be there for the supplies needed. And well, there we are. So what you're going to need is you're going to need your flush cutters or snips. You're going to need your round nose pliers. You're going to need your chain nose pliers. You're going to need a ruler. You're going to need your 18 gauge permanently colored wire, which is actually coated with a clear enamel. And you're going to need your 24 gauge permanently colored wire. And again, that's covered with enamel. They're brass in this core with silver plated, and then the clear enamel over top. And you're going to need a clasp. I'm going to have the link where I got these ones from, but your clasp, these ones are from Beebeecraft. You're going to need your freshwater coin-shaped pearls. And then I'm also recommending that you make yourself a bracelet measurer out of cardstock. Now what this is this is 2.5 inches by 11 fairly light cardstock. That's all you need. And then all I've done is taken my ruler. If you're doing centimeters, you can use centimeters instead. And I just marked down the measurements. I've got, excuse me, I have the 1 inch, the 2 inch, and then I've got the 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 inch little ticks in between. And that's once you've got your bracelet where you think it's pretty much done, you put it together, and then we can find out precisely what size it is. And I think, so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to cut up your segments of wire, 6-inch segments of the 18 gauge, and one for each link that you make. And you might need more than what you realize at first, but you can just cut it off as you go as well. Then the 24 gauge, you're going to need 3-inch segments. And we're also going to need 1 4-inch piece of working wire to make the infinity links. And I think that's where I'm going to start off with, because that's what you need to hook you need to hook your clasp to your links. And so what I want you to do is take your 4-inch piece of 18 gauge wire, and we're going to shape it with your round nose pliers. And I'm going to go the middle of my shank of my round nose pliers to make the form of the first loop. And then I'm going to now make the second half of it. And I'm going to push this forward just to make it more even looking. And I'm going to end it like, end it like that. And then I'm going to snip it, take my snips, and have the flush part snipping it. And right there, like that. And now I want to work harden it. Now because it's brass, this is really great for work hardening. But because it's clear coat enamel on it, we don't want to wreck that coat either. So we don't want to hammer it or smash it or anything. So I'm going to give it a hammered look with my round nose pliers. And I'm just squishing it like this, gently and firmly. And if you see it, it's giving it a type of hammered look. And you're going to keep doing that for a while until you get it all over. And trust me, this wire work hardens very well. And this is going to be a very strong link. And I just keep doing it. And you got to flip it over to get at each point. Get in the middle from both sides. And then it splits apart a little bit, and that's easy enough to fix, and you just wiggle it into place. We'll be opening it anyways, but you just wiggle it into place till it gets closer. And that's done. So we're going to need 2 of those. So go ahead and make your 2 and then attach it to your 2 clasp ends. One thing I like about brass being in the middle instead of copper is when you cut it, you don't see the copper flashing at you like you do with the other wire. It looks like it's, I mean, I can't tell there's anything in the center unless you look super, super close. And maybe then you can't even tell sometimes. Okay, so you need to pay attention as to how the link is facing, because your infinity link is this way always because of the way the bracelet clasp works. So we have to pay attention how our loops on our links with the pearls are going to be. So just a heads up on that. And then I already had one made ahead of time, so I'm just going to attach that onto the other end of the link. And that way it's ready. When you think that your bracelet is the right size you want, you can quickly put your ends on, put it together, and measure your bracelet. The links, once made, at least with these pearls, the finished product is approximately 1 inch per link. So, and the clasp is a little bit over 1 inch. So if you want to make a bracelet for a 7-inch wrist, you'd probably want to try out making 6 pearl links and then your clasp, and it's going to be a little bit over 7. And if you need to, you can add an extra one of these for a little bit more length. But that's what I would start off with anyways, is go do it that way. And so now we're going to start with making our first link. So you're going to take your pearl that you want, and you have to decide which side you want facing forward. I notice one side's flat and the other one's more rounded. I usually like the more rounded side to be the front. So I just have that ready to go. And the next thing you want to do is take your 6-inch piece of 18 gauge. And you're going to put the 2 ends like this. You're going to try and find the center like this. Then you're going to take your chain nose pliers and take it approximately, not quite the widest point on your chain nose, and then I want you to gently, not forcefully, gently bend one direction with one wire and the opposite direction, end of the wire I should say, like that. So it gives it kind of a zigzag look. Then I want you to take your round nose pliers and put it in that loop part and then have it on that part of it, and then bend it so it's going to be kind of like a straight line like that. And like that. So we get kind of, and everyone's going to be a little bit different, and that's what we want. We don't want them all identical, but you want a straight line from this to this one. Is supposed to be, if you were, how do I explain that? You want it to be on the same line. You don't want one up here and one down here. We want it to be like a straight line because the pearl's going to sit underneath that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it the hammered look as well, just like we did for the links, because that's going to give it a hammered look. So I'm just pushing it around, and this doesn't harm the finish. We don't really want to do a hammer to harm the finish. So what I'm doing is I'm not smacking it against it either. I'm just giving it a firm squeeze. Gentle but firm. And then it has that hammered look. I don't know if I'm catching it there or not. Okay, so you want it a little bit past this. So that, like that part of the segment right there. And that, I'll measure it for you so you know an approximate size here. Put it to inches. It's, well, sorry, it's about 3/4 of an inch long that I have worked out there. So, and this is bent on me again. I'm straightening it out. Okay. So the next thing you need to do is take your pearl again and take your 3-inch piece of 24 gauge wire and put it in your pearl. Now the reason we need to do this is your 18 gauge, 20 gauge, even 22 gauge wire does not fit in these pearls. So what we're doing is we're using the 24 gauge, and then to give it the strength, we're actually using that to wrap around the 18 gauge. But for the strength of the bracelet, the 18 gauge is going to take all the stress. So I have made myself a sterling silver bracelet with some pearls, and I had to use 24 gauge sterling silver, and it didn't last long. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bracelet, and I only got to wear it about 2 months, and it broke because the wire, the pressure on the wire was too much. So I wanted to come up with a pearl bracelet that remedied that solution, and that's what this design is doing. So the reason why I wanted you to have this 24 gauge in at this point, you really don't need it in, is because it's going to show us where those holes are, because I can see, because I can look around, but you can't really see where you are. So I'm holding what I've hammered. I like decide better, so you need to decide what looks better of the hammering. And now I am bending this wire down right beside the hole to get the right measurement, and then this side down, and then it's going to shape this wire to hug against the pearl. That's what we want. And now the next step is I'm going to take this out now because it's kind of in my way, and I'm taking my round nose pliers, and but basically the point of where the hole is, I want to bend it back up. So it's getting, see how it's curved like that? That's what we want. So it shapes or hugs the pearl. And now I'm going to do the same on the other side. And there, it's hugged. Okay, so the next step is to put that 24 gauge wire back in your pearl. And have it in the center of the wire. Okay, approximately, of course. And now put this over top of the good side of the pearl and have it so it's sitting over top of the holes. And now I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to wrap it around once. And now I'm actually going to work backwards because we want this to be as close to the pearl as possible. So it always tends to go a little bit forwards, and now I'm wrapping around backwards. And I can go over my wire if needed and just wrap it until you got about 1 centimeter of wire left over, or a smidge less. There, like that. And now I'm going to go to the other side. Make sure the pearl's sitting right. Hold it all where it's supposed to be. And do the same thing on the other side. And this attaches the pearl to the 18 gauge. Okay, this had a little bit longer wire. And now I want to push this against the pearl. I'm pushing, sliding it along. Same with this one. Sometimes it doesn't move at all. Sometimes it moves quite a bit. That one moved, the other side didn't. And now I'm going to snip off the tails. And there, that's what it looks like. Now the next step is to make the loops. But I really want you to pay attention to what direction loops you need, because we need it. Because if you look at these, the end ones are very crucial, but it's also very crucial because for each one, because you want it needs to be the right direction to fit onto the previous bead. So with this one, we need the first loop to be up and down, and then maybe the next one horizontal, but you've got to figure that out and plan ahead, and you need to attach them as you go. But the first one you don't need to, because it's going to be this one can open and close, so it doesn't matter. I have some made ahead of time where I put them together, and I'll probably attach this one onto this, because I just really need to show you the one. So I want this one to be up and down, because it's going to be attached to the clasp. So for up and down, you see where the wire ends? I want you to support this, and I want you to bend it at that point, because we don't want it too long, because it looks clumsy. And then I want you to take, I'm using the center part of my shank again to make a kind of, not loop that's not too small, but we're going to make a loop from that point. Okay, and now we're going to wrap it probably about 2 to 2.5 times, depending where we're going. And we're going to cover up the 24 gauge wire. It might not get all of it, but we don't want it too long, because then it starts looking clumsy. And it's going to be a little bit on the messy side. Well, we're going to need 3 here. Try and make it neat, but it's harder working with the 18 gauge. And then once you get to the back, so I want you to notice here, I'm on the left hand side. If you were on the right hand side, depending on how you were to do it, I want you to cross over and make a loop. And this is how we're holding in the pearl, as well as we are finishing off the end so it doesn't have a burr. So we're going to take it like this. We're actually at this point going to lift it up a smidge. We'll push it down later. And we're going to clip it as close as possible. Like that. Then what we want it to do is we want it to actually be a little bit lower than this wire. We want the end to be down a little bit so it's not going to snag on anything. We also want it to touch the wire. So carefully bring it in, have it a little bit lower so there's nothing to touch. Then flatten it down to the pearl. And sometimes that's a little bit challenging to do. It wants to lift up a little bit, but you just do the best you can. And as long as it's not snagging on anything, you're good. And then I want to straighten out this loop because it's going sideways. And we're just gonna straighten it like that. And that one's done. Okay, so that would be your very first link because it's going to go onto your clasp. Now, I want to show how, with this one, if it was your very first link, you'd be doing this whichever direction you wanted to because you're not hooking something else onto it. But now I'm going to give you the example of how you need to think ahead in what direction to go on to the next link. So I got both ends are up and down, both ends would fit the clasp, no problem. So I can go either one. So in order to fit this, I need my my loop, I should say, not link, to be horizontal to fit onto this one, and that's what I'm going to do. So this one I want up and down. This one, oh, the link moved on me. So the loop here moved on me. Easy enough to fix. Okay, so this one we want horizontal. So I'm pulling it to the side, and I'm going to support it with my thumbnail there, and bend to the side, and then make my loop. And that one has I'm going to do 3 wraps. See these wraps, when I do them, they hug the pearl too, and it's really holding it. And when this is pulled, it doesn't put any pressure on that pearl at all. The 18 gauge wire is taking all the stress, and it's going to handle it beautifully. So we should not have issues. So again, I'm on the other side. Just like before, I was on the left side, this one's on the right side. So I'm crossing over to make the loop like this. And before I do that permanently, I need to fix this. And guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to add that onto the next loop. Isn't that silly? It's going to happen to you. So virtually now what I got to do is I have to put something in between each. And that's okay because I can. Because I wanted to do one more link anyways. And so I will do that quickly for you without all the talking in between, and you can just watch me work. So I'm just going to finish off this. Lower that down. And I actually have, just to save some time, this one ready to go, just to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to attach this one to this end of the clasp. Make sure it's right side up. And now I'm going to take this one and attach it to this end of the clasp. And it's right side up. Okay, so I'm going to attach it to this bead first. So this one is facing horizontally, so I need this and the next end to be vertically. So I've got this ready. I'm going to make my loop. Whoops. Pull the wire vertically, make the loop. Okay, there's the loop. Now I'm going to add this on, and I'm going to put it upside down to add it on, because it flips as it goes to the loop. And there, it's done. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers now to hold this loop and do my wrapping over the 24 gauge wire. Sometimes you'll have to lift it up, lift everything up and adjust. But you've always need to hang on to the loop with the pliers, because if you try to do it with just freeform, it'll flip it around on you. Okay. So whoops, I'm sorry. So I've got it and I'm holding it, and I've got it from the left crossing over, and I'm going to make a loop there. Snip it off. Tuck in that wire. Okay, and now what do I need? Well, this one's vertical, so I need to make a horizontal loop on the other end. Okay, so I'm got it ready to make the loop. Slide it on. They're both right side up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Hold on to that loop. It is kind of awkward, and you need to constantly move your pliers to accommodate. And this time I'm only having 2 wraps. And I was on the right hand side, crossed over to the left, make my loop. Snip it. Tuck it in so it doesn't scrape anything or anyone. Push it down a bit. And there, that's upside down. There, it's done with 6 links and the clasp. So let's find out once you do the clasp. And one thing that's really nice about this style of clasp is it's hard to close. If you got to figure out how to do it. Whoops, I twisted around. Okay, I gotta make sure it's not twisted around. Okay, so that should be there. So it won't come off while you're wearing it. So let's take the bracelet measurement tool that we, homemade one that we made, and we're gonna go, no, we want to put it so that the paper actually is over the big numbers like this. And you're going to make it smaller than the bracelet to start out with, and then you're going to put the bracelet on in the center. Done. And measure where it's at. Now, you've got to remember that it's going to be smaller. I might need to add an extra link. Or you might need to add an extra link. Okay, so this bracelet, even though it measures approximately, I didn't measure it, but it should be approximately 7 inches, it only fits a 6.5. So yeah, it would measure a fit a 6.5 inch. I would actually recommend 6.25 inch. So if you have somebody with a 6.5 inch, another pearl would be too much. You might want to add an extra clasp, or you could do just a simple pretty bead there too. That would be your choice, just to make it so that it works. So the best, what I recommend for you, is to make a bracelet similar to this to fit you, and see how much room you personally need to close that clasp, because that's going to be the challenge for everybody, right? So whether you put in a little extra link in there to make it a little bit longer, that's up to you. And I'm just gonna, I think this will be too small on me personally, but I'm gonna try to put it on my wrist. Oh, it might work for me. Okay. It's always tricky to put them on. So you have to pull it out. There, got it. So actually that's a nice fit for me, because it lays flat, doesn't flip over, it's comfortable, not too tight, not too loose. Huh. Well, didn't I luck out? Well, anyways, thank you for joining me in this video. God bless. Thank you to Beebeecraft again for the supplies to make this video. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.